I have coaching spots open right now. And it's not just for celebs, execs, or people who you might assume it's meant for. It's meant for you. Book your free consultation with the team at jeffreymarsh.com/coaching. This is your sign. On this episode of Inner Voice.
But she's a rock star, so it's fine. And she laughed and said, "No, we're kind of all tops." But I knew that maybe that's not the best example, but I know I can ask these questions that are maybe out there or wacky because I know I can deal with the answer, whatever it is that they do it, and I know I can get out of there at any moment too.
So if you were a child and your parents said that to you, you've changed. Closely related to, I'm just so disappointed in you. It was dangerous to grow, expand, change your mind, have new ideas.
But I see the way I move through the world. I think that what we don't talk about with masculinity is how it can be intoxicating because the way someone treats you. And I absolutely think that it has transformed like the way I talk, maybe the pitch, the way I dress, in many, many ways.
Regardless of my optics and regardless of my political affiliation, which even though I actually do not claim a party, because I think the bipartisan system is the root of most of our problems, I have still consistently voted for only one party since I've come of age because I have had more faith in those particular choices. Okay?
Very common experience, yeah.
But I hope I said that eloquently.
We tend to trust news influencers on TikTok more than we do the sources they are citing. And
sure.
And that is bad for journalism.
I'm so excited about the guest today, the host of LGBTQ&A, but really a pillar of that's a podcast, a foundational LGBTQ interview podcast, but truly an LGBTQ journalist, which we'll talk about. Welcome to Inner Voice. I'm your host, Jeffrey Marsh. I have 2 best-selling books. I spent 25 years studying Zen, and I take people's horrible, trash, terrible, negative inner voice, and for over a decade, I've trained people to change that inner voice into kindness, love, belonging. That's what we talk about here. Hi, Zach. How are you feeling?
I'm fantastic. I wanted to draw attention to my cat eyeliner because I'm very proud of how symmetrical they are. But if
your cat's not named eyeliner.
My cat is not named eyeliner, but I don't think that you can tell because what you're seeing is me in the Twilight Zone. I think I should shift. So that the people can see this for a second.
Record this for a second.
This is my internal webcam, and I don't know what happened.
That's what we use for the Zoom.
And so that's spooky. All Jeffrey can see, so it's spooky. But let's make this topical.
Yes.
There is something so potentially scary about the plight of finding true news nowadays. And having people with such self-assuredness and such professionalism behind the pen. I was going to say behind the camera, but behind the pen, behind the microphone, in speaking to Jeffrey Masters has really been eye-opening to me and has really placed my faith in traditional news again. And it was just a phenomenal conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Certain folks in moral folks with integrity. Right. You know what you made me think of? It shall remain nameless, and certainly they're not a sponsor or anything, but there's a brand that's sponsoring a lot of YouTubers that aggregates news, if you know what I'm talking about, into right, left, and center, and shows you all right, left, and center. And every time somebody is sponsored by them, I'm like, why? In 2025, Why are we not separating news into honest, integrity, truthful, and the rest of the folks? You know, like, why are you showing me a spectrum of left, right, and center at this exact moment? And that may be a longer discussion we have at a different time. But as folks know, we filmed the interview first. So we happen to know that Jeffrey Masters brings a lot of wisdom and a lot of perspective, not just as an LGBTQ person, but a lot of perspective to the plight, the current plight of the media system, the ecosphere, and how to and we do talk about how to find sources that are trustworthy, that you're gonna want to cling on to in times like this. Were you inspired to do this cat eye because of the interview? This cat eye is integrity for you.
So let me do one of my famous segues.
You're going to get us out of this mess.
Cat eye. Cats say meow. 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 News. News. News.
That?
Today's guest.
I can't breathe.
Today's guest is a journalist and podcast host who's helped redefine how queer stories are told. Jeffrey Masters is the creator and host of LGBTQ&A, the award-winning interview series featuring icons, activists, and changemakers across the queer spectrum. His work has appeared in The Advocate, Out Magazine, NPR, and more, and he's known for asking the questions others won't and doing it with care, depth, and a little irreverence. I almost said...
Not irrelevance, the opposite.
Irrelevance.
Relevance.
A little irreverence. He's not just supporting history. He's helping shape it. Please welcome Jeffrey Masters to Inner Voice.
Yay! Hi, Jeffrey. It's other Jeffrey.
Yes, nice to see you as always.
So on LGBTQ&A, you ask the questions no one else will ask. You get right down to it.
I try.
You succeed. I'm going to ask the questions even you won't ask, but now you're in the hot seat. Where's your balance between, how do I want to phrase this? Straight people, their straightness is going to inform their journalism. So where are you with a balance between I'm doing my job, head down, I'm following procedure, and the weight of how much you represent a movement and a community?
I think the balance changes every single time. I think it depends on the guest. Yeah. I think that if you think too much about it, like your head will kind of explode. But there are some interviews that I allow them to be more fun and zany. There are some that I'm just like on a mission, and afterward I'm like, oh, that was a bit too serious. But I try to like make sure. Oh, listen, I've done this for almost 10 years. By this point, I try to evaluate it on the whole, all of the podcast episodes, all the interviews, all the long form interviews, all the conversations, as a whole, and not just like, oh God, last week was horrible, and that kind of stuff.
You've spoken to all the luminaries, all the celebs, including me. Once. I was trying to remember this morning. You get a chance to interact with people on a level that they don't interact with for other kinds of press. And it's similar to me when I'm, interviewing a non-binary person, an LGBTQ. There's a certain level that we can start out of comfortability and understanding. And I've seen you many times, and I mean this in the best way, use that to your advantage to get someone to open up about things that they don't usually get to talk about. So I'm going to assume that that's something you're doing consciously and that you love to do. Can you tell me a story about a favorite time when that happened with someone?
Yeah, I appreciate that. It is conscious, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I I love long form interviews and I study them in terms of like myself. I don't just rely on how was your week and hope that it becomes a
Mm,
great conversation. I have the whole thing mapped out, and if you take it somewhere more interesting, I will follow you. But if need be, I will bring you right back to what I want to ask because I have about 3 hours worth of questions and only sometimes 1 hour with you. Um, but something I don't tell a lot of people, which I'll tell you, is that I volunteered for the Trevor Project for about 8 years. And I'm sure people listening know, but this is the National Suicide Hotline for LGBTQ youth in crisis. And doing that, I didn't plan on this, but it transformed my interview skills
mm,
because they teach you how to control a conversation without making it sound like you're controlling conversation. And you need to identify details and facts about this person in order to sometimes save their life and to make sure they're safe, but you really don't want to spook them. You don't want to push too hard. You got to be gentle. And that really speaks to I don't intentionally do that as an interviewer, but I do approach people as we build rapport. I charm them if possible, and then I ask the hard questions that I've been dying to ask. And by then, they want to answer because we've built rapport, right? When I kind of was coming up, the interviewer was this nameless, faceless person who just asked questions. And now there's I can bring this full personality to that, right? I get to be Jeffrey Masters asking questions, and I can laugh and make fun of myself and act dumb, and all those things I get to bring to it. So I feel like I hit the industry of journalism at the right time in that sense.
yeah, you said when I was coming up. You mean like the World War II? What are you talking about? The 60s, 70s? Yeah, you're not that old. You
I'm not old, but it's
you
changed really quickly.
well, that's what I want to talk to you about next. So, I'm 48 years old. And so when I was first consuming queer media, I'd say it's like the 90s and it's The Advocate. It's maybe Out Magazine existed at the time, but it's these. To me, I grew up on a farm and it was, I'll just be perfectly honest, dripping with shame. I wasn't supposed to look at those magazines. I wasn't supposed to get them. Wasn't supposed to even know they were on the rack. Don't look down, you know? And leafing through the pages, it was a sense of redemption, coming home, love, kindness, right? So it's sort of this secret kindness, this secret unconditional love. And I don't mean to get accusatory right away, but that's you in your interview style too. Even if you're asking the tough questions, it's we are going to be in a place where you are comfortable to let go and tell the truth because that's okay. But also, that's what we're doing here. We're not doing something else.
Yeah. And also you show someone that you care and respect about them by actually preparing questions. You
Mm,
know, you show them that you care about their story and you are hearing them, what they're saying, by asking follow-up questions too. And so all these things make somebody want to open up to you more. And I don't do that in a manipulative way, because I want the best interview. I do that because I want to make the person feel comfortable. Unless it's a politician, those are different. Those are different people. But on the whole, that's what I'm there for. Yeah. Sorry, it's just I just didn't want to make it sound like I'm doing this to manipulate people. And to get the best results. I'm doing this because I think that it matters too.
yes, and that does get the best result.
Yes, exactly.
That mattering to you. And I'm glad that you clarified that the result is almost secondary, but being a good person, you listed the everyday skills, right? The research and everything, the outlines, the everything that goes on behind the scenes, but it also takes a certain gumption to be able to go there, which you have earned through your personal history as well. In that way, I see myself in you, that you have struggled through enough that you understand what it's like to speak the truth in a way that might be vulnerable and might have consequences.
Absolutely. And I think you get this too, that I'm not afraid to ask a question that makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't care about my
Mm,
feelings in these things. Here's an example.
please.
Melissa Etheridge, I interviewed, and she was talking about running around in like the 80s and 90s with a group of women. It was like Ellen DeGeneres, Rosie O'Donnell, Katie Lang, all these women. And I was like, okay, you're running around, you're getting drunk at pool parties. Like, did any of you ever like date or hook up? Right, which to some people they might have said it's none of your fucking business.
Mm,
Right? And but she's a rock star, so it's fine. And she laughed and said, no, we're kind of all tops.
mm,
But I knew that I mean, maybe that's not the best example, but I know I can ask these questions that are maybe out there or wacky because I know I can deal with the answer, whatever it is that they do it, and I know I can get out of there at any moment too. Okay, I hear that, but let me ask you this instead. Oh, I'm sorry to offend you. Or if I do offend them, we will address it right there in the interview, right? And then I always know where else to go so that we can kind of zoom out as much as possible.
Okay, so maybe this was because I had prepared to ask you about this. Speaking, of the outline, and I might be completely off base. I need you to tell me from what I know of you and the years that I've known you. You have been through enough shit that you're not going to be surfacey about it, and that's all my language. How would you talk about that? Can you and fold in your own coming out and how people reacted and some of the things that you've been through that the people you interview are going to identify with?
Well, it's hard because I do think that like everyone's been through stuff in a way.
Mm,
And so um I was talking to my partner about this last weekend. We were having a disagreement about um someone else's politics in our life. And I don't know why I'm like this. It just could be innate, but sometimes you end up in a job, like I believe I ended up here in a weird roundabout way. I didn't really identify as a journalist or feel comfortable calling myself that for a while, but now it kind of all makes sense that I end up here. And I say that because I was talking to my partner, and I'm a deeply skeptical person about almost everything. Like I want to know it. I'm not both sidesing every issue, but I want to know why both sides feel the way they feel, if that makes
mm,
sense. Um, and so we were talking about somebody in our life that he was mad about, like their politics, and I was just like, well, we don't know what their politics are because we haven't asked them. Like, I want to hear from the source, right?
mm,
I don't have any interest um, in making assumptions. It if I was at lunch tomorrow and you walked by, although I think you moved, we don't live here anymore, but and
I mean, Los Angeles nowadays. Yeah.
yes, we switched. I'm in New York now.
Yes.
Um, if you walked by me tomorrow at name a restaurant and you just smiled politely and kept walking and didn't stop to say hi after we just had this Zoom, I'd be like, oh, why did Jeffrey stop? And then my first thought would be like, you know what? They just might be rushing, or they might be dealing with something. It's not really any of my business, and it wouldn't ruin my day. Whereas my partner might spiral about that and like wonder if like
Mm,
he should like reach out and like do stuff. But I treat my journalism like that too. Like I don't make any assumptions about somebody um in my life or work.
yeah, and that's because assumptions have been made about you in the past, and you know how that feels,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
No.
yes,
Yes.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're just thinking that everything about me, the person that I've crafted, that you're listening to or hearing, it is in some ways to counteract your assumptions. Um,
Oh, tell me more.
well, I just want to address the hilarious irony of me talking about my femininity to somebody who has embraced theirs so much, but I in some ways in business have pushed it down because
Mm,
I thought it helped me get ahead. I
mm,
would not have said that 10 years ago, right? But
mm-hmm,
but I see the way I move through the world. I think that what we don't talk about with masculinity is how it can be intoxicating because the way someone treats you. And I absolutely think that it has transformed like the way I talk, maybe the pitch, way I dress, in many, many ways. Um, to get ahead in life. Again, this is subconsciously, or even just to feel safe walking home. Um, you know,
Mm, for
down
sure.
in New York City. If I'm wearing something extremely flamboyant in the summer, I will walk home in the middle of the street because I'm like, well, no one's gonna beat me up in the middle of the street. They do that on sidewalks, Jeffrey. But yeah, I think I've
Yeah.
transformed a lot of things just for those reasons.
Did you grow up in a rural place?
No, North Carolina, it was at Greensboro. It's a big city, but not the biggest city, but it's suburbia. It's a small downtown. It's everything.
Yeah, I'm trying to comprehend. You learned at a very young age you got to keep it in the closet to be safe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then later on, and again, this is subconscious. You can be out, but it can't be perceptible to other people. You could be gay. It's don't ask, don't tell. It's don't ask, don't tell. That
Hmm.
was like the motto, right? You could be gay as long as no one knew.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I don't have to tell anybody, right? The so you're to me, this is so fascinating to me because you're femme as can be. And that's a compliment. You know, you're a gay man, you're he, him, but you have this beautiful softness to you. Is it just because I'm attuned to that? Are you like go into a boardroom and you're like butchering it up today? Or you're not even thinking about that anymore?
I I know this sounds weird. I weirdly feel about my masculinity and femininity that people see what they want to see. To some people, I'm
Ooh.
I'm kind of more on the scale, and some people I'm more on the fem scale. Um, sure, I will like change for different people, but what I was saying about the boardroom, like I would like butch it up. I also, well, now in my current job, I've found that by femming it up, you also get your way in many ways. Um,
Mm.
I produce the New Yorker Radio Hour now, and I remember like last summer I was having this exchange with David Remnick, esteemed journalist, and in the middle of it I was like, "Girl," and it made him laugh, and then I got my way, and then I did that girl a week later. I'm like, let's not whip out the girl every week. Let's save it, right?
Every other week, perhaps. Yeah.
But no, in terms of my masculinity and femininity, I don't really, I don't think about it that much anymore because I'm comfortable with whatever I'm projecting. I'm comfortable with what I am. Um, I weirdly have no interest in. I should whisper this because it's illegal to say. I have zero interest in doing drag. I have so many friends
Hmm.
who live for putting on wigs and makeup, and I like the southerner in me who likes to go hiking and play in the dirt. Like I would hate having to like wipe off makeup at the end of the night and take off a wig. They're hot. Um, I do many butch things. I can fix a toilet, right? But how am I trying to say? I
You're
appreciate you
comfortable
saying that about
now?
softness. I'm comfortable, and yeah, I think that I'm comfortable and don't think about it, and that is a
Yes.
privilege too.
Well, I'm saying you're comfortable and it is extra sweet because you spent years being uncomfortable.
Yes, thank you. That's a
Correct?
nicer way to say it.
So
Yeah.
you have, well, I mean, to me, that's the main point because we on this podcast talk about the spiritual. So it was a spiritual journey for you to have been, to have part of your brain space, and you can tell me the percentage, part of your brain space devoted to how am I being perceived and mitigating that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then that, as you get older, I'm speaking for myself now, older, more tired, you get like people reacting to you in various ways and it just gets tired. You just get worn down, if nothing else, in trying to keep up with the what do they think of me. That's how I felt, right? And I actually people people I coach with do choose to keep devoting energy to, oh my God, what are they going to think of me into their 70s, 80s, centenarians worrying about it. But I think it's a beautiful gift of being LGBTQ that it wears down for us quicker, I think.
I know this is so weird to say. I am a nice person. You're right. But sometimes in my
Did I imply you're
career,
not?
no, 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 no. I'm implying. Well, ask my partner. He'll say no. No, I'm kidding. Um, Sometimes in my career, though, I do feel like the nice guy is not taken seriously. And
Mm,
sometimes I use that to my advantage,
mm.
where, and other times it's deeply frustrating. And so I do need to be a little bit more serious. Um, and I do think that I got to this place also because of not having to think about it, because I finally got to a place in my career that I was happy and I could settle. Um, I oh my God, maybe this is like me spiraling, but I'm a deeply hard worker who's like worked my butt off my entire life. And then to get to a place, right? And then I kind of got to this place in my career and was like, oh, okay. I had all this energy that was like, well, what do I put that towards now? If it's not my career, like where else is just because I'm happy with my career, which feels crazy to people say because I'm not able to say that for the first
Mm.
30-ish years of my life. But I have all this like energy, and you know what I'm doing now, Jeffrey? I'm
Tell me.
quilting. I'm quilting. And
Yeah.
it's my favorite thing in the world.
Yes.
Because I need to go home at night and I need to still do something for 2 hours because I'm used to doing hobbies and side projects for 2 hours. And now I make quilts, and it is something you need both hands for. So you cannot be on your phone, which I recommend for
Hmm.
everybody. Put the phone down. And it is so much fun. But I'm directing that energy towards hobbies and not career. And it feels kind of like a reinvention in a way.
Certainly. And nowadays, speaking of the spiritual, we need that element of comfort, kindness. If you don't consciously add it, you're in trouble. So tell me, how old were you when you came out?
Um, it it was my when I got to college, I kind of just
Hmm.
like, well, I don't need to pretend. So like 18, 19, around there.
And so, freshman year, you were like, take the hinges off the door, let's do it.
Yeah, I was yeah. I never liked people thinking they knew something about me that I didn't know. And
Oh,
so
say
when
more
some
about that.
oh, when someone's like, "Are you
Just because it
gay?"
would
and
be used against you?
you say no, and they say, "Oh, okay, sure." It's like, "Oh, God damn it." That I'm from the South, right? It's like, "Oh, sure, bless your heart," right?
I could never do it. I told people I had a girlfriend in middle school and they laughed in my face. Like I could never. But it's a good thing. I mean, it is so, obvious we are who we are.
But in my college too, I had openly gay professors, which like
Mm.
changed my life. To
Yeah.
see people who, were excelling in their careers and didn't care if you knew that they were gay. It's crazy. You're just not to
Mm.
tell anybody. Come on.
Mm. Because, well, give me a little range. You were 18 and 19 around what year? You don't have to tell me the
No, no,
total truth.
I'm not ashamed to be 21 and this successful. I'm 36. So I went to college in 2007 when I first came out.
36. It's a transitional time, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So let's talk about the media today. What's the biggest? You can talk about LGBTQ media if you want to, but generally, we're in a time where media companies are kowtowing and rolling over. What do you see as the biggest issue facing modern media right now?
Oh my God, how long do you have? I mean, financially, things are going
Condense
downhill.
it, make it snappy, get it down to
Okay, can I get
one
a beat?
sentence.
Just kidding. Financially, things are horrible, and AI is accelerating that.
Yep,
Um, I think that I don't know if you know anything about TikTok, Jeffrey, but
thing or two.
we tend to trust news influencers on TikTok more than we do the sources they are citing. And so,
Sure,
if right, and that is
sure.
bad for journalism. And then also
Across the
like
board,
it's bad for everything. Yes,
it
and then
is.
as the
Yeah.
yeah, please, I
No,
cut
I'm
you off.
talking about the studies. It's Gen Z mostly, but lots of people get their news from TikTok and they trust influencers more than they trust, news anchors and stuff like that.
It's also just even though it's scary, it's fascinating. Like they will
Mm-hmm.
trust Jeffrey Marsh reading the
Mm-hmm.
news, but Jeffrey Marsh is holding the New York Times and they say, no, I don't trust that. But they trust
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey reading the New York Times. It's very fascinating um,
Mm-hmm.
and scary.
I think, well, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but I think the New York Times has some sort of imprimatur that people suspect is not exactly what they're saying it is. And whether that's true or not, that's, topic for a different podcast. But I think what people are magnetized by is a genuineness. And a lot of legacy media, just because of the way it came about, has a, we're authoritative, which is not this, people don't translate as the same as genuineness. You can talk about that if you want to move on.
No, I think you're exactly right. And I think that we've seen certain news companies embrace that. They push a face forward on video, and other ones are more hesitant. I don't think there's a right or wrong, but I think we're in this like great experimental phase for sure.
Great experimental phase, or it's dying. Do
You
you
can
know?
experiment towards death.
A great experimental phase of intense pressure, financial pressure, societal pressure, and AI.
Yesterday, I was Googling something so I interviewed this person who was affected by HIV criminalization laws in Louisiana, and he was sent to prison for having sex with somebody, and they say without disclosing he had HIV, even though there was no transmission. He was sent to jail. And that is not a law in New York. I think the laws have since changed Louisiana, but this was 20 years ago or so. And at the time he was undetectable, although we don't have to use that language. And so I was Googling to see, when did people, with the appropriate medication who are living with HIV, when do they first become undetectable? When, and unable to transmit the virus? And I was Googling that.
Yeah.
And Google popped up its little AI box, and it told me the answer. And so I then closed that and said, great. And I went back to editing my podcast. But the answer is very interesting, I think. 1996, people began to be undetectable with drugs, but then early 2000s, it became accepted that that is possible. And the studies then showed you cannot transmit the virus. It's a huge step forward, but also I'm fascinated by that but then undetectable, that language, undetectable equals not transmittable, didn't come about till like 15 years later. So we had this period of time when you couldn't transmit it, but no one knew you couldn't transmit it. It's wild. But I'm tangenting. What I'm trying to say is that I just read that on Google. The AI box told me. I didn't click on links. I didn't go read a study. I didn't do anything. And so those websites are losing my traffic. Their ad dollars are plummeting. And, because no one's clicking anymore. And I just was like kind of horrified by that last night when I was doing the not clicking. And so after I read it, I then clicked just to try to give that page view to them. And then I went back to my thing.
Well, and many people now are just going to ChatGPT. So it's not even like the Google AI and then links underneath. It's like not even links, They are included, but it's much less obvious on ChatGPT. Yes, so what are you going to do? That's my real question. What's your future? Yeah, you got your amazing career. You're just going to keep doing it. But what do you see in 5 years, 10 years? Or we just don't know?
Oh, I have no idea. And I know that's personally scary for me because as like a self-identified hard worker, I don't know what to work hard towards, right? But in this very moment, there are so few podcast jobs. The industry just keeps contracting. It's sad, but also I would say it's contracting in a way that's like correcting for the market. It expanded really artificially over the last few years with millions and millions and millions of dollars pouring in when the industry couldn't support that. So now we've kind of corrected.
Yep.
And there's very few jobs. And so, the higher you move up the ladder, the less there is too, because I want to keep moving up. So, I'm happy to sit and to have this job for a little while longer. I can do my show on the side. I can do other things. I'm trying to figure out what is next, and I feel lucky to say I'm not in a rush.
What do you want for the world? What are we going to do? Ooh, lady. What are we going to do?
In this moment, I want the country to not redistrict so the Republicans don't win the House.
It is Tuesday, August 12th in the morning. Just a time check, everybody.
I think that's a horrifying future.
I mean, isn't that something else? Every day it's 16 new things that we're dealing with. And that's what the first term was like. But this is itself a level, and that's why you quilt.
And that's why I quilt.
Is that the takeaway? This is why we
Yes,
quilt.
everyone take up quilting. What if in 10 years I just have a quilt shop?
You're like, I've full-time quilting.
But I do think I know some, my activist friends who are like, that's not true. I don't want to be nasty. Yeah. I know some people feel like ashamed of like art and culture, and like we're paying attention. We need to pay attention to only the news and stuff. I'm like, no. We need breaks. We need to disengage with the news cycle. Don't ignore it completely, but I'm a big believer on like shutting the laptop.
Yeah. I think we want to balance between being informed and completely destroying our mental health. Find somewhere in the middle. And on that note, it's a delight talking to you. Do you know I love quilts? I mean, we never talked about it. Yeah, I grew up in York County. I do not. I admire the talent so thoroughly. Do not sew, have never sewn, not even like costumes or, clothing. But I grew up around quilts because I grew up in York County, which is right next to the Amish in Lancaster County. And I love you. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. Would you like to tell people to listen to LGBTQ&A? Or should I say it? Did I just say it?
Yeah, that and the episode I mentioned will be coming out soon with a man named Robert Suttle about HIV criminalization laws in Louisiana and New York City, New York State, excuse me. We have some weird laws that we don't criminalize, something like sex with somebody who's living with HIV, but we do respect other states' rulings and like felonies for people who move here. And it's a very big issue I was not previously aware of. So yeah, that's coming out on LGBTQ&A next couple weeks.
But of course, every episode's a winner.
I agree completely. At least somebody's saying it finally.
I think many people are saying it, if I remember correctly. But I'll add my voice to the chorus. Thank you for the work you do. I really appreciate you. Okay, bye. Love you.
Okay, thank you so much for this. Talk soon.
What a delightful conversation. I mean, I feel like one of the luckiest people alive just to interact with the wonderful people I get to interact with. You have a trivia question.
Trivia!
And it's going to burn in people's hearts and minds until we get the answer 20 minutes from now.
If nothing else, it's very topical.
Lay it on me. I'll answer it.
Jeffrey, according to Gallup, Gallup, what percentage of Americans say they have a great deal or quite a lot of trust in mass media in 2023? What percentage of Americans say they have a great deal of trust in our mass media in 2023?
Oh, because I think lots of people from various parts of from various political parties will answer no, don't trust a lot of media sources for different reasons, right? Let me go with what percentage has trust? That's the question.
Yes.
So I'm going to go with 30%.
Okay.
One third of the population.
So sometimes we can use this pre-initial commercial break to do some related but free conversation. And I'm just, are you willing to do this with me for a second?
Absolutely. I'm not objecting to a thing. Lay it on me.
Some improvised free convo. Maybe it's more of like a comment and have you respond to it, and let's see if something comes of it. Regardless of my optics and regardless of my political affiliation, which even though I actually do not claim a party, because I think the bipartisan system is the root of most of our problems, I have still consistently voted for only one party since I've come of age, because I have had more faith in those particular choices. Okay?
Very common experience, yeah.
But I hope I said that eloquently. I have no interest in being spoon-fed the things I want to hear. If something is a complicated truth, and I was able to know it was the absolute truth, I would welcome it, including all the friction that truth might have with the beliefs I've already held before that truth came into my understanding. Does that make sense? I'm willing to dislodge my staunch beliefs in favor of something that might be true that could uproot that. I'm sure you feel the same way. Could you speak for a little bit about why, from a spiritual level, people instead, and this is not talking down to anybody, people sometimes would rather stay in their comfort zone than experience a pure truth? And the reason I phrase it that way is because for me, the fact that something is just objectively true sets me free, right? Like that there's no agenda tied to it. And so what is the spiritual thing that keeps people in their bubbles?
2 words. You've changed. So
other people saying that to them, their perception.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So if you were a child and your parents said that to you, you've changed. You know, closely related to, I'm just so disappointed in you. It was dangerous to grow, expand, change your mind, have new ideas for many people within their childhood. So they carry that into adulthood and get recalcitrant in whatever it is, get set in whatever it is, and cling to it out of fear. That doesn't make it morally correct, and actually to expand and take in new information is the moral path. If you're asking Jeffrey Marsh's opinion, please. Truth! But it all comes down to not wanting to change and the danger of change. Inherent, as it relates to being rejected.
Well, that's the nugget for me. That was really illuminating in how you said that, in that so much of our identity is constituted by those who we surround ourselves with. And so there's even in some circles a pressure to stay ignorant. That sounds insulting. I don't mean it in the insulting way. There's a pressure to maintain your lane.
Stay stuck, you could say.
To stay stuck such that those people around you with whom you formed this politically aligned identity, that you can keep them around you. You can all feel the same. You all know that you think the same things about the same things, and you don't introduce friction into how other people see you. Because as soon as you lose that tethered to other people, you also lose yourself.
You lose your place in the group, and you're rejected and no belonging, and
Thanks for letting us explore that. Thank you for the time.
Of course, and it's pertinent to the conversation we had today with Jeffrey Masters, because Jeffrey is most known, or at least was most known to me, for unearthing, if we take just as an example, within the LGBT community, unearthing some difficult truths that not every LGBTQ celebrity, thinks the same way or holds the views, or thinks that the movement is doing the quote unquote best thing right now, or, that we're a group of human beings with lots of varying. You know what I thought of immediately as you were talking, though, because you said it so brilliantly, that as sometimes, what I'll speak for myself as a super queer, meaning so queer, just like so queer my entire life, like as a super queer, I was already primed for not primed. I was just getting rejected left, right, and center my entire life. So the threat of rejection is not really all that potent for me. Because just, I've been rejected by all kinds of people my entire life. So it just gets, I don't know if boring is the word, but it gets less powerful if you're super duper as I am. Food for thought. Do you ever wish you had a place where you could just be yourself? Simply, boldly, comfortably yourself. A space without judgment, without pressure, only with kindness. That's exactly what we've built through years of hard work at Jeffrey's Safe Space on Discord. It's a community that surrounds this podcast with love and kindness and encouragement, and where you can laugh, share, and heal alongside people who really understand. In that community, you'll find support circles, live chats with me, uplifting prompts, friends, extras, and you'll be surrounded by people who get what you're going through. Because you don't have to face life's hardest moments alone. Join us at jeffreymarsh.com in Jeffrey's Safe Space, your home for kindness. Have you done all the work? All the books? Therapy? Tried everything, as we say in the business? And yet you still feel like life's pressure is running your show. I'm Jeffrey. I'm your friend, Jeffrey Marsh. I'm not an average life coach. I'm an emotional resilience strategist with 25 years of Zen training, trauma-informed compassion, and a whole career of teaching leaders how to stop surviving and start their era of thriving. My 12-session coaching method is a whole journey unto itself. We start with rebuilding your inner stability. We move through real-world practice around boundaries and your visibility. And we end with deep self-reliance and a personalized self-trust plan that you will carry forward with you forever. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to fix yourself. You just need a safe and powerful space to breathe, to let go, to be fully seen, to be fully heard, and to come back to your truest self. Book your personal Zoom coaching placement with my team at jeffreymarsh.com, and let's begin your personal coaching journey. You have a community question. We have a community, and you have a question from thence.
I do.
Are we going to explain my various outfits? My costume changes in the video?
We're recording this a different day. Is that good enough? We're coming back in the future, and
I made it sound so dramatic, and you're like, it's just a different day.
Well, and for some people, they only listen to because this is a podcast, so you can listen to it alone, and so they haven't noticed. But if you're watching the YouTube or you're watching the social media clips, we're wearing different outfits because this is a different day.
If I sound different, it's a different day as well.
Right, it's a different day. You know who does not sound different is our lovely community member, Scatterbrain24. Says
the
Jeffrey.
Community of.
The community of like-minded and loving individuals over at Jeffrey's Safe Space, which you can join the Discord at jeffreymarsh.com. Up in the top where it says community, you can join that just by clicking. It's never been easier, probably ever, except for the past few weeks where it's been the same. It was also just as easy then.
Easier just then.
But you can come and join now. This is Scatterbrain. Scatterbrain is one of our lovely community members who asks Jeffrey, I want to write about trans issues, but I am afraid of getting it wrong or being criticized by the community. How do you stay accountable without becoming afraid to speak at all? Now, I know Scatterbrain, and I don't know if they claim transness. Let's wait for Horn. I don't know if they claim transness, but they do use they them, and so I can at least, give you context that I guess they mean even from within. They're afraid of speaking on behalf of all trans people, or maybe binarily trans people, because they're a they them. I just want you to have more context to that. It might help answer.
About 7 or 8 years ago, I had a binary trans person say to me off the record, who shall remain nameless. And again, this was years ago, so current thinking is not in this place, but said to me years ago about my work, if gender is just a state of mind, where does that leave people like me? And she meant, I assume, stop being a weirdo non-binary person and ruining it for everyone who's binary, and therefore makes more sense to cis people. That's a lot of assumption on my part. But I bring up that story, and by the way, we're friends today, so this person, we all grew together as a movement. But this idea that you're going to get criticism is almost 100% guaranteed. I think that's the main point that I want to make. Anybody who's sharing their expression, their opinion in any public way, because public is social media now, social media is public. Any way that you're sharing it, people are going to chime in with criticism. So if you have a spiritual journey to go on where criticism is not as threatening to you, not as deep to you, go on that journey first and then express yourself. Because there is no world in which you'll do your writing and you'll not get criticism. That's not possible. That was a multi-part question. Did I hit the parts?
Not only, I mean, you hit them enough that I had nothing to add.
That you were silent.
Although now that you're offering the space to me, I would just like to point out, this is not amending. You've already said it this way, and I'm sure on purpose, that anybody in the public eye sets themselves up to receive criticism.
Yep.
Right? Like there's a lovely artist who I follow on Instagram who is fat and uses that word in reference to her weight.
Yeah.
And gets fat phobic comments all the time. There is a couple, like a straight couple who is married, but they are physically open with other people, and they get a lot of hate. It's not a trans thing to receive hate for being public. I think people who are not on the internet visibly, although they are in the comments, feel like us offering ourselves on the public platform is a permission to receive everyone's opinions and thoughts, and that's universal. And so that could provide anxiety, but I also think that actually provides a release.
Yeah.
In how impersonal the response is. They are responding to your visibility and your fearlessness to be so, but very rarely is it a personal, intentional attack against you, the human.
There's an extra layer to this one and to this beautiful question, because I had to get over this myself. The people who are supposed to love you are coming after you sometimes. And that cuts double deep. So the haters are supposed to hate you, and that for some, and everybody gets that, and that, everybody receives that kind of hate and judgment and stuff, and that's human nature, and that makes perfect sense. The other trans people who are accusing you of being trans the wrong way, that is a double cut. That is a difficult thing, and I just want to point out, you're not wrong or bad when that comes to you. Because sometimes, how deep do we want to get, Zach? Sometimes people are ultra invested in the image that is presented in the world because they are trans themselves. And so they are extra enthusiastic in their criticism. And please, please, please allow yourself to take good care of yourself.
Hey, I'm Jeffrey Masters, and for the last few years on my podcast, LGBTQ&A, we've been documenting the stories of our community's elders. That's people like Martha Shelley, who was an activist in the 1950s and 60s, and yes, she was there at Stonewall.
What mattered was the organizing, and reaching out to other people. Throwing bottles or bricks or whatever at a few cops, getting arrested, going home, that doesn't change the world. What changes the world is organizing.
You can listen to that full interview with Martha and many, many other amazing elders on the podcast LGBTQ&A. That's LGBTQ&A with an ampersand, LGBTQ&A, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, we'll see you there. Bye.
Trivia. I had my tongue in and then my tongue out. Trivia.
Is it like Idina Menzel singing the national anthem?
La de ga, la la ha. You have a trivia. That was my segue into trivia answer? Question mark?
First, I shall repeat the question.
Please do.
According to Gallup, what percentage of Americans said they had a great deal or quite a lot of trust in mass media in 2023 was the survey year? And the answer, Jeffrey, is 32% of Americans, only 32%, say they have a great deal or quite a lot of trust in our mass media. Again, our source is Gallup News, October 2023.
I'm so sorry. My enthusiastic outburst. I didn't mean to derail you. Wow, I said 30 and it was 32. So close, yet so far. I think 30, I mean, about a third. I guess that, yeah, that makes sense to me. Does it make sense to you? This is 2023?
Yeah, well, I think it proves a lot of things, just that particular number. I mean, 32 is only 1%, 1.33333% from being a perfect third, which I think also plays into the fact that we are not able to be evenly split in half, like, rights and lefts, and everybody on each side feels exactly the same about everything. There are some who believe the news and some who don't, and for some, I just think it proves even more so than I already had a random hunch about, that we are not able to be boxed so easily.
Amen. Thank you, everyone, for spending time with Jeffrey Masters, for spending time with me, Jeffrey Marsh, your host-ex, and with Zach and the community. I want to encourage you to take good care of yourself, and remember, good journalism doesn't tell you what to think. It helps you know what the truth is and helps you to formulate your own thinking and opinions. And we can't fight propaganda with silence. We need truth-telling and we need clarity. And if you're on a path to being a truth teller, be very, very, very kind to yourself. You will receive criticism, and it's okay. Everyone feels like it's necessary to jump in. But there's actually a saying in Buddhism that covers this. The folks with an opinion about how it should be done should not interrupt someone who's doing it. And I'm paraphrasing. If you are invested and you are in the midst of creating good change and doing what is kind and compassionate, there are folks who should join you instead of standing on the sidelines critiquing. We need storytellers, and we need people who can ask, like Jeffrey Masters, who can ask good questions, not just for others, but for the whole of humanity. Close your eyes, please. Take some deep breaths and draw your attention to your heart today. How is your heart feeling? If you could put it on a spectrum of heavy to light, where is your heart? And notice for me the physical sensation that goes along with that heaviness, that lightness, wherever you are on that spectrum. Can you breathe into that heart? Can you fill your heart with breath, with openness, with kindness? Wonderful. When you're ready, open your eyes. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Thank you for sticking around. And thank you for being a good human. Bye for now. This has been Inner Voice with Jeffrey Marsh. Today's episode was produced by Zach Latino. If you're ready to go deeper, transform your life, and experience personalized support, my one-on-one coaching sessions can be applied for at jeffreymarsh.com. Know someone perfect for Inner Voice? Send them our way. Have them visit jeffreymarsh.com to sign up for our exclusive online community, and we'll reach out if their inquiry aligns with an upcoming episode. Remember, you are worthy exactly as you are. See you next time.